Pain is a teacher. It carves into our hearts, shaping who we are and how we see the world. But let's be clear about one thing. When someone hurts you, it wasn't an accident. It was a choice. They had the option to be kind. They had the option to be honest. They had the option to love you well, and they chose not to. Now, here you are standing at the crossroads between resentment and healing. And I know, because I've been there, that the world will tell you to be the bigger person. They'll tell you that forgiveness means opening the door again, that letting go means giving another chance. But that's a lie. Forgiveness and access are not the same thing. Forgiveness is something you give yourself, a release of the burden that keeps you tied to the past. But access, that's earned. And some people have lost the right to stand in your presence. So let's talk about boundaries. Because boundaries aren't walls to keep love out, they're gates that protect your peace. When you say, I will not allow this again, you are honoring yourself. You are saying, I choose me. Some may call you cold, some may call you unforgiving, let them talk. Because the truth is, walking away from what wounds you is not weakness, it's strength. Healing doesn't mean returning to the source of your pain. It means stepping into the light of your own worth. It means choosing yourself in a world that taught you to settle for less. So today I want you to hear me when I say they chose to hurt you. And you get to choose to never let it happen again. Hurt doesn't happen by accident. It's not a slip of the tongue, a momentary lapse in judgment, or an innocent mistake. It is a decision, one that someone made with full awareness of its impact on you. Let's sit with that for a moment. Because too often we make excuses for those who hurt us. We say things like, they didn't mean it. They were going through a tough time. They don't know any better. But the truth, they knew what they were doing. They knew their words would sting. They knew their betrayal would break you. They knew that their actions would leave scars, and they did it anyway. This is where many of us struggle, because accepting that someone deliberately caused us pain feels unbearable. It's easier to believe they didn't know any better, that they were just lost or confused. But that belief keeps us trapped in cycles of hurt. Think about it. How many times have you justified someone's mistreatment of you? How many times have you said, they'll change, only to be disappointed again? How many times have you given someone another chance, believing that this time will be different? Hurt is a choice. And if someone chose to hurt you once, what's stopping them from choosing it again? This isn't about bitterness. This isn't about walking around with resentment in your heart. This is about clarity. It's about recognizing that just as someone had the option to be kind, to be honest, to be faithful, to be gentle, they also had the option to do the opposite. And they made their choice. Now it's your turn to make yours. You get to decide what happens next. You get to decide whether you will allow this person to remain in your life. You get to decide whether you will tolerate the same behavior, the same empty apologies, the same cycle of hurt. Let me tell you something. Protecting yourself isn't selfish. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. Walking away isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's saying, I see the choices you've made and I refuse to let them shape my future. Because here's the thing, if someone truly cared about you, they wouldn't put you in a position to be hurt in the first place. If someone truly valued your presence in their life, they wouldn't risk losing you. So when someone chooses to hurt you, believe them, not their excuses, not their apologies, not their promises to change. Believe their actions, because actions don't lie. And the most powerful thing you can do in response, choose yourself, choose your peace, choose to walk away from those who have shown you through their choices that they were never meant to stay. Your worth is not up for debate. It's not something that fluctuates based on how someone treats you, how many people approve of you, or how much love you receive from others. It is fixed, it is unchanging, it is yours. Yet so many of us struggle with this. We hand over our self-worth like it's a fragile thing that others get to determine. We let rejection chip away at it. We let mistreatment make us question it. We let the opinions of people who don't even see our full story, define it. But here's the truth. Nobody has the authority to decide your value. Not the person who walked away, not the one who hurt you, not the ones who didn't appreciate you. Your worth is not something that can be given or taken away. It simply is. Where we go wrong, the problem is many of us have been taught that love and validation are proof of our worth. If someone chooses us, we must be valuable. If someone leaves, we must not be enough. If someone mistreats us, maybe we deserved it. Let me stop you right there, because that is a lie. Your value is not dependent on who stays, who goes, or who sees you. Your worth does not shrink just because someone else failed to recognize it. A diamond doesn't lose its value just because someone doesn't understand its worth. And you are that diamond. But if you don't believe it, if you don't hold on to your worth like an unshakable truth, then you'll find yourself in places that don't honor you. You'll settle for relationships that drain you. You'll tolerate behavior that breaks you. You'll keep trying to prove your worth to people who were never meant to hold that power over you in the first place. No more proving, no more pleasing. You do not have to prove your worth, not to a partner, not to a friend, not to a boss, not to anyone. If someone cannot see your value, that is not a reflection of you, it is a reflection of them. Their inability to love you, appreciate you, or respect you does not mean you are unworthy of those things. It simply means they are incapable of giving them to you. Think about that for a second. How many times have you internalized someone else's inability to love you as a sign that you weren't enough? How many times have you changed yourself, silenced yourself, shrunk yourself just to fit into a space where you were never meant to belong? No more. Your self-worth is not something you negotiate. It's not something you bargain away for the sake of being accepted. It's not something you lower just to be loved. If love requires you to abandon yourself, it is not love, it is control. Holding your worth like a boundary. The moment you realize your worth is the moment your life changes. You start saying no to things that drain you. You stop chasing people who don't see you. You stop begging for love, attention, and respect, because you finally understand that those things should be freely given, not earned through suffering. So let me remind you, you are enough, just as you are. You do not need to change to be loved the right way. The right people will never make you question your worth. Your value does not decrease because someone else fails to see it. And most importantly, your self-worth is non-negotiable. Hold it high, guard it fiercely. Because the moment you start believing in your they share a history with you, or because they feel they deserve it, trust is earned. Yet so many of us are conditioned to believe that we owe people our trust, that family members automatically deserve it, that friendships built over time guarantee it, that relationships, no matter how broken, should always be given another chance. But let's set the record straight. Trust is not a birthright, it's a responsibility. Trust is built through actions, not words. Anyone can say, "You can trust me." Anyone can apologize, anyone can make promises to change, but words are easy. Words don't cost anything. And if there's one thing we've all learned the hard way, it's that words without action are meaningless. Real trust isn't built in grand gestures or rehearsed apologies. It's built in the small, consistent moments where someone proves they are who they say they are. It's built in honesty when it would be easier to lie, in accountability when mistakes are made, in reliability when they show up time and time again. So if someone has broken your trust, and is now demanding it back without putting in the effort to earn it, understand this. They are not asking for trust, they're asking for blind faith. And there's a difference. Blind faith says, I'll trust you simply because you want me to. Earned trust says, I'll trust you when your actions prove I can. Why we struggle to withhold trust. So why do we hesitate to hold people accountable? Why do we rush to rebuild bridges that were burned by the very people who claim to care about us? For many of us, it's because we fear losing relationships. We fear being called cold, unforgiving, or too much. We fear that if we don't extend trust right away, we will lose people we love. But let's get something straight. Healthy relationships are not built on fear. They are built on mutual respect, honesty, and consistency. If someone truly values their place in your life, they will put in the work to regain your trust. They will show patience, understanding, and effort. They will not guilt trip you into giving them something they have not earned. Trust is a privilege, not a right. There are people who will say, you should trust me because I'm your partner, friend, sibling, parent, etc. But trust is not given because of a title. It's given because of behavior. A partner who has lied to you does not automatically deserve to be trusted again just because they say they love you. A friend who has betrayed you does not automatically deserve trust just because of the years you've spent together. A family member who has caused harm does not automatically get your trust simply because of shared blood. Trust is a privilege, and privileges can be lost. If someone breaks your trust, they do not get to demand it back on their terms. They do not get to dictate the timeline of your healing. They do not get to decide when you should move on. And if they truly care about you, they will ask you to. Instead, they will show you through their actions, through their honesty, through their consistency, that they are worthy of rebuilding what they destroy. The power of protecting your trust. When you stop giving trust away freely, you take back your power. You stop letting people manipulate their way back into your life. You stop feeling obligated to believe in people who have shown you they are not worthy of that belief. So here's what you need to remember. Trust is not automatic. It is earned through consistent, honest actions. You do not owe trust to anyone who has broken it. Rebuilding trust is a privilege, not a right. The right people will prove themselves through actions, not demands. And most importantly, you have the right to withhold trust from anyone who has not earned it, without guilt, without apology, without explanation, because trust is sacred. And the moment you start treating it that way, you'll find that the only people left in your life are the ones who truly deserve to be there. Boundaries are not about keeping people out, they're about keeping yourself safe. They are not selfish, not mean, and not something you should ever feel guilty about. Boundaries are an act of self-love, a way of telling yourself, I matter. My needs are important. My well-being comes first. Yet so many of us struggle to set boundaries because we were raised to believe that prioritizing ourselves is wrong. That putting others first, no matter the cost, is the only way to be a good person. That saying no makes us difficult, unkind, or unloving. But the truth, loving yourself enough to set boundaries is the most powerful thing you can do. Why we struggle to set boundaries. We were taught how to set boundaries. We were taught how to please others. We were told to be polite even when we were uncomfortable. We were told to be agreeable even when we felt disrespected. We were told to forgive even when we weren't ready. We were told to be kind even to those who hurt us. And so we grew up believing that setting limits was wrong, that if someone crossed the line, it was our job to endure it, not to stand up for ourselves. But let me tell you something. You do not exist to make other people comfortable at the expense of your own peace. You are not responsible for managing everyone else's feelings while ignoring your own. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about protecting yourself. Many people misunderstand boundaries. They think setting boundaries is about controlling how others behave. It's not. A boundary is not, you can't talk to me like that. A boundary is, if you continue to speak to me that way, I will remove myself from the conversation. A boundary is not, you have to respect me. A boundary is, I will not engage with people who do not treat me with respect. Boundaries are about your actions, not trying to force someone else to change. They allow you to decide what you will and will not accept in your life. What happens when you don't set boundaries? When you fail to set boundaries, you teach people that you are willing to tolerate anything. You teach them that your time, energy, and emotions are theirs to take. You teach them that they can cross the line without consequences. And what happens then? You feel drained, you feel resentful, you feel invisible, unheard, and unappreciated. You feel like you're constantly giving but never receiving. Because without boundaries, you become a version of yourself that exists only to serve others. And that is not love, that is self-abandonment. Boundaries will upset some people, and that's okay. Let's be real, setting boundaries will make some people uncomfortable, especially those who benefited from your lack of them. The people who took advantage of your kindness will call you selfish. The ones who guilt-tripped you into overextending yourself will say, you're changing. The ones who are used to walking all over you will suddenly feel offended that you've decided to stand up. Let them. If someone gets angry because you're finally prioritizing yourself, that's a reflection of them, not you. People who truly love and respect you will honor your boundaries, even if it's inconvenient for them. How to set boundaries without guilt. Get clear on what you need. What drains you? What makes you feel uncomfortable, used, or disrespected? Pay attention to the things that make you feel like you're betraying yourself. That's where a boundary is needed. Start small. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight. Begin with 1 or 2 simple boundaries, like saying no to things you don't have the energy for. Communicate clearly and firmly. You don't have to explain, justify, or defend your boundaries. A simple, I can't do that, or I won't tolerate that behavior is enough. Enforce your boundaries consistently. Boundaries are only effective if you uphold them. If you set a boundary but let people cross it, they'll learn that you don't mean what you say. Let go of the fear of disapproval. You cannot please everyone and protect yourself at the same time. If choosing yourself upsets others, that's their problem, not yours. Boundaries are the ultimate form of self-respect. At the end of the day, setting boundaries is an act of love for yourself. It's choosing to honor your needs. It's refusing to allow mistreatment. It's deciding that your well-being matters just as much as anyone else's. So let me remind you, you are not selfish for setting boundaries. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to you. Your needs, feelings, and energy deserve protection. People who respect you will respect your boundaries. You are worthy of a life where you don't feel used, drained, or taken for granted. And the moment you start enforcing your boundaries, you will see a shift. You will lose people who only valued you for what they could take from you. But you will also gain something far greater: peace, self-respect, and the realization that the most important person you need to take care of is yourself. Healing is not a round trip. It's not about fixing yourself just so you can go back to the places that broke you. It's not about making peace with the past so you can return to the people who wounded you. Healing is about moving forward, not retracing your steps. Yet so many of us struggle with this. We believe that if we heal enough, we can go back and things will be different. We think that if we become stronger, we can withstand the same pain that once shattered us. We convince ourselves that growth means we can now handle what was once unbearable. But let me tell you something. True healing isn't about proving you can survive the fire. It's about realizing you never had to stand in it to begin with. Healing is for you, not for them. A common mistake people make is believing that healing means they have to return and give people another chance. That if they've forgiven, they must reconcile. That if they've grown, they must go back and try again. But healing is for you, not for the people who hurt you. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of what happened, not about giving anyone permission to re-enter your life. You can forgive someone without letting them back in. You can understand someone's pain without excusing how they treated you. You can outgrow your past without ever stepping back into it. Healing means recognizing that just because you have changed doesn't mean they have. Just because you have done the work doesn't mean they have earned another chance. Why we feel pulled back. So why do we feel the urge to return? For some, it's nostalgia. The mind has a way of softening painful memories, making us remember the good and overlook the bad. It whispers, maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe they've changed. Maybe this time will be different. For others, it's unfinished business. We want closure. We want to prove something to them, to ourselves. We think if we go back and it works out, then all the suffering was worth it. And sometimes it's just habit. We are drawn to what is familiar, even when it's unhealthy. We mistake comfort for love, predictability for peace, and history for destiny. But here's the truth. Just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's meant for you. Returning is not a requirement for healing. Healing doesn't mean giving people access to you again. It doesn't mean reopening doors you fought to close. It doesn't mean explaining yourself to people who refuse to understand you in the first place. Healing means letting go. It means accepting that some things will never be fixed. Some people will never change, and some relationships are only meant to be lessons, not lifelong commitments. Healing is choosing yourself even when it's hard. Healing is closing doors even when you still feel tempted to knock. Healing is knowing that your growth does not require their validation. Moving forward without looking back. So how do you move forward without feeling guilty? Remind yourself why you left. When the past tries to pull you back, revisit the reasons you walked away. What did it cost you? How did it make you feel? Was that a life you truly want to return to? Recognize that growth means outgrowing. Not everything is meant to stay. Not every connection is meant to last forever. Outgrowing people, places, and patterns is a sign of progress, not failure. Protect your peace. If returning to a person or situation means sacrificing your peace, it is not healing, it is self-betrayal. You deserve relationships that nourish you, not ones that require you to shrink yourself to fit. Understand that you are not the same person. Healing transforms you. You are no longer the version of yourself that tolerated mistreatment, ignored red flags, or settled for less than you deserved. That means the spaces and relationships that once felt like home may no longer fit you, and that's okay. Trust that the best is ahead, not behind. The past can feel tempting, but it's not where your future is. Your healing is preparing you for something better, something that honors your worth, matches your energy, and values your presence. You don't have to go back to nostalgia calls. Remind yourself why you moved forward. And when you feel tempted to return, remember, healing doesn't mean going back. It means finally being free to move forward. We are often taught that strength is about endurance, that real strength means holding on, fighting harder, and staying even when everything in us is begging to leave. But the truth is, strength is not in how much you can take. It's in knowing when to walk away. Walking away is not weakness. It is not quitting. It is not a sign of failure. Walking away is power. It is clarity. It is self-respect. Because choosing to walk away means you have finally realized something profound. You are worth more than what you're leaving behind. Why walking away is so hard. If walking away were easy, everyone would do it. No one would stay in toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, friendships that drain them, or cycles that no longer serve them. But the reality is, walking away is one of the hardest things you will ever do. Why? Because we are wired for attachment. We crave connection. We want to believe in the best in people, in second chances, and happy endings. And sometimes the thought of leaving is scarier than the pain of staying. What if things get better? What if I'm making a mistake? What if I regret this later? These questions keep us stuck. They keep us clinging to people who no longer value us, to places that no longer nourish us, and to situations that continue to break us. But here's what you need to understand. Walking away doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing yourself. And that is one of the bravest things you can ever do. Walking away is a declaration of self-respect. When you walk away from something that no longer serves you, you are making a statement, I will no longer tolerate less than I deserve. I am prioritizing my peace over someone else's comfort. I am choosing my growth over familiarity. And this is not easy. People will try to make you feel guilty. They will say you're being too harsh, too sensitive, too unforgiving. But the reality is, people who truly respect and care about you will never put you in a position where you have to choose between them and your own well-being. Walking away isn't about cutting people off out of anger or bitterness. It's about recognizing when a situation is no longer in alignment with your self-worth. The strength to walk away comes from trusting yourself. One of the biggest fears about walking away is the uncertainty that follows. What if I don't find something better? What if I feel alone? What if this is as good as it gets? These fears are normal. But here's the truth. The only way you'll ever find what truly fulfills you is by letting go of what doesn't. Trust yourself. Trust that there is more for you beyond what you're leaving behind. Trust that the pain of walking away is temporary, but the regret of staying too long can last a lifetime. You do not have to know exactly what comes next. You do not need a perfect plan. All you need to know is this: you deserve better, and better will only come when you make space for it. Walking away is not just about people, it's about patterns. Walking away is not just about relationships, it's about breaking cycles. It's about stepping out of patterns that have kept you small, stuck, or unhappy. Walking away is leaving behind self-doubt. Stop questioning your worth. Stop looking for validation from people who do not see you. Walking away is stepping out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of the unknown, fear of what people will say. Fear will keep you trapped, but strength will set you free. Walking away is saying no to toxic environments. You are not obligated to stay in places that make you feel unappreciated, unseen, or unloved. You do not have to be loyal to situations that cause you harm. Walking away is releasing guilt. You are not responsible for fixing people who refuse to change. You do not have to sacrifice your well-being to make others comfortable. The freedom that comes after walking away. In the beginning, walking away will feel hard. It may feel like loss. It may feel like grief. But what comes after is freedom. Freedom from emotional exhaustion. Freedom from the weight of trying to fix what was never yours to fix. Freedom from the anxiety of waiting for someone to treat you right. And eventually you will look back and realize something life-changing. Walking away didn't break you. Staying would have. You are stronger than you think. If you are struggling to walk away, remember this. Your peace is more important than someone else's expectation. Your growth is more valuable than your history with someone. Your future is brighter than the comfort of what's familiar. And the moment you take that first step, you will feel something powerful rise within you. Because walking away isn't just strength, it's liberation. At the core of everything we've discussed, hurt, self-worth, trust, boundaries, healing, and walking away is one undeniable truth. Choosing yourself is the most powerful decision you will ever make. They chose to hurt you. That was their decision. Never give them another chance to do it again. Because you are not here to endure endless cycles of pain in the hopes that people will change. You are not here to prove your worth to those who refuse to see it. You are not here to shrink yourself, sacrifice your peace, or hold on to relationships that require you to abandon yourself. You are here to grow, to heal, to build a life that honors your value, and that means recognizing that hurt is a choice, and you will no longer choose to carry what is not yours. Knowing that your self-worth is non-negotiable and you refuse to let anyone make you doubt it. Understanding that trust is earned, not owed, and you will no longer give it freely to those who abuse it. Setting boundaries as an act of self-love and standing firm in them without guilt. Accepting that healing does not mean returning and your past does not deserve a place in your future. Finding strength and walking away and embracing the freedom that comes with it. So if you take nothing else from this, let it be this. You do not have to stay where you are not valued. You do not have to return to what broke you. You do not have to keep proving your worth to people who refuse to see it. You are worthy of peace. You are worthy of respect. You are worthy of love that does not hurt. And if you have to walk away to find it, so be it.